Welcome back. In this video, let us specifically learn about get metadata activity in Azure Data Factory. And this activity is also a very most commonly used activity in real-time projects. So it becomes important to understand what actually get metadata is and where exactly we can use it, in which scenario we can use it. So yeah, let us understand with kind of a demos and kind of explanations. If you're before that, if you're new to this channel and haven't yet subscribed for this channel, I would recommend you to please subscribe for this channel and also share with your colleagues and friends who are interested to learn about data and data engineering. Let's get started. So, before actually going into the practicality of it, theoretically, what get metadata activity means. That means what is the definition of it. So, definition of get metadata is wherever you want to retrieve the metadata information of any data. When we say any data, especially like a file-based sources, when you're connecting to say like blob storage, ADLS, or Linux file system, or Windows file share. So all these are like a file-based systems, right? So when you're connected to those file-based systems, through Azure Data Factory. So you can make use of get metadata activity and fetch the metadata information of the files or folders. So and we will see what are the what are the metadata we are targeting to get here. So as you know, metadata is nothing but it is a information about the information about, or you can call it as a data about the data. That means it is not actually the data; it is data regarding data. So that we can see what are the get metadata features that we can see in the upcoming slides. But at a high level, so that is a definition. And output of get metadata activity, you can use it for like if you're setting a variable, you can view that. And if you're doing some conditional expressions like if condition, or you have some for loops based on this, so you can use this output of get metadata in any subsequent activities. So that's the whole intention here. And let us see in next slide. Here we see we will have a quick demo where we will see how get metadata activity can be used at a folder level and file level, and also yeah, we will see few of the real-time scenarios where where we might need to get metadata and utilize this get metadata to get what we need actually. Okay, so yeah, let's jump into the demo now. As you can see, we are into Azure Data Factory now, and so I'm into a pipeline. I'm into pipeline now. I'm just creating a pipeline called PL demo. And basically we need to see about the get metadata. Just you can search get, it will populate you the get metadata. So this activity, as you can see, like the other details if you see here, right? So these are like similar details, like you can see name, description, and if you want to give some timeout, right? So how much time you want to the get metadata to wait, and if you want to have a multiple retries if any failures, right? So you can basically do that retry with the intervals. And secure output, secure input is nothing but you can suppose if you having some confidential information that is getting passed from one activity to another activity. Suppose there is a previous activity here, maybe some lookup activity, some of the copy activity. So the output of that you don't want to display that in a. So if you see here, whatever you do, it will display right here. It is displaying the output. So if you don't want to display that output in this. In the output tab, when so in that case you can make this as a you can give it as a secure output or secure input. If you're getting the secure input, you need to click on this. If you want to pass the secure output out of this, so then you need to click on secure output. So and coming to the settings, which is an important piece. In the settings, definitely it will accept the data set. So get metadata is expecting at least one data set, because so get metadata is nothing but, as you know, it wants to it by definition it will give the metadata information of a like any file system based files or folders, right? So that we need to definitely tell what is that file system, and that will happen only with the dataset. So I have the predefined dataset here. Like I have created a dataset which is connecting to the blob storage. Okay, so in this blob storage, as you can see, I kept all the default values here, but only thing is I have just specified the file path and the file name exactly. Okay, and I can just preview the data and see if the connection is working. As you can see, I'm having the connection is working. Okay. And so now, like this particular file I'm targeting, which is there in the blob storage, and I want to get metadata information of that file. Okay, so I'll just try to debug it and let us see. So as you can see, it will throw you the warning which says a field list get metadata cannot be empty. That means so you need to specify at least one field list here. So there is a field list. You can just go on adding a number of field list as per the requirement, but at least one field list you have to specify. Suppose I want to check if the file exists. Okay, So what I can do, I can just use that. And if I want to check the item name, what is the item name of that particular file that I'm running, and last modified timestamp, right? So like if I just try to debug now, and you can see the output of these. Yeah. So since it is succeeded, and if you see exist is giving true, that means a file is existing. And what is the item name? That is a item name is nothing, the file name. So this file name it is displaying, and when this file was last modified, it is displaying the timestamp. Similarly, you can add a number of field list, but these are all predefined. You cannot, there is no custom metadata property you can add. So these are all predefined. Okay, and one more option what we have is you can specify the filter by last modified timestamp. That means suppose in your blob storage or in your ADLS or in your file system there might be thousands of files, and you don't want to apply this get metadata data activity to all of thousand files, right? So suppose if you are interested in only last 1 month of files. So in that case you can apply that range, like I can say August 2022 to till today. So this get metadata will apply only to those files which are in this range. Getting me right? So that's the whole intention of it. And one important thing to understand here is so now since we are targeting the file here, I'm specifying the file name here, right? So with the file name, the properties are different. I'll just show you the properties. It shows all these properties, right? As you can see, you can read out structure, size, last modified, and all these things. Okay, and as you can see, I'll change it now. At a dataset level, I'll go and change. I don't want the file. I'm concentrating on the metadata of the folder. Okay, and if you think logically, the metadata of a folder and the metadata of a file will definitely be different. When I say different, the properties will be definitely different. So as you can see, now it displays only few properties. Like and one additional property you can see is also child items. So when you're selecting, say when you're giving a file name here, like a test something, okay, test.csv. So then if you come back and see this, okay, so you'll not be able to see the child items because file will not have child items, right? Only folder can have a child items. So the intention here to explain regarding whenever you uh, whenever you give at a folder level and the file level, your properties will definitely change. So that is very important to note here. Yeah. And so how what I mean, as you can see, we are already able to display this, and basically you can further you can basically utilize in any, like I'm currently using set activity here, and you can use copy activity, you can use for each activity, and get the output of this in this subsequent activity. Like say for example, I'll just show one. I have defined one variable at a pipeline level, as you can see, var1, which is a string type. And if you just click on add dynamic content, you'll be able to see all these properties are getting listed. So I just want to display any one property, just item type. Okay, and when I click debug, it will work. Okay, I mean it will show the output of it will set that variable with the output of this get metadata activity. And since I'm connecting this get metadata activity to the subsequent activity, then only I'll be able to see this by default. I'm seeing all these, right? Get metadata one and all. So if I just delete this connection, I'll not be able to see this, as you can see, because it should be always subsequent activity, right? So now let us see the output, right? Like output is failed because item type does not exist. Okay, so as you can see, because we have not selected the item type here. Okay, we can utilize only the arguments which we have given here, file list that we have given here. Like we can utilize exists, right? So instead of this activity, we can utilize exist. Basically, this is how it looks, activity, and this will be a single quoted get metadata, and then output. After that, what property you want to check? Okay, whether you want to check exist, whether you want to check item name, so that you have to specify. Okay, so once you specify that, you will be able to execute it and get it. Basically, get metadata activity that you used to get all these metadata informations. And yeah, it has again failed because so we have given the like exist, right? Exist is always a boolean value, and variable is of string type. Let me change it to boolean, and we can debug it again. So now it is succeeded, and you can see the value is true because the file is existing. Great. So to brief the summary of this, right, like there are different types of metadata types we can see here: item name, like item type, size, created, last modified, child items, MD5, and so all these like exist, column. So these are all metadata activity types are there, but this will be applicable based on whether you're selecting file or folder. Item, this is, as you can see, it's applicable for file and folder, and this is also applicable for file and folder, but this is only for file, and this is for both file and folder. And child item is only for folder. So similarly, you can read about all these there's a description in the Microsoft documentation as well. You can go ahead and read it. But yeah, so this is what we wanted to summarize. And let us just quickly discuss about the real-time scenario when exactly we want to utilize this get metadata activity, right? Suppose take for example, you want to pick only the files which are 1 month old. Okay, so because your intention is to pick only the files which are 1 month old, or take example, you want to pick a file, pick all the files which arrived in last 24 hours. So in that case, you can use a we can use get metadata activity and give this time range like 24 hours, and then it will pick only the files which came at last 24 hours. And for that, you need to use the child items. So as you know, for use the child items, we should not specify anything here. Okay, so then only it will list the child items. So once you give the child items, it will give you the list of all the file names, okay, which are arrived in last 24 hours, because you will give the range of here last 24 hours. Okay, so that is one scenario, right? And another scenario might be like you want to check whether the file exists or not before actually doing a copy activity. So because when you do copy activity, there might be a failure if the file does not exist, right? So before that, you can just do a file check using exist this thing, I mean property. Then you can apply that for a folder or file as well, and check whether the file is existing. If it is existing, it will return true. Then only you can have a if condition here. Okay, so if condition you can have, and this if condition will take output of this the same, right? So this will return a boolean value here. So this boolean value we can give into the if condition exactly like this. Okay, so once you give this, we need to connect to this, otherwise it will throw error, right? So once you give this, it will only execute. Inside this, you can have a copy activity in the true condition. That means whenever the file exists, then only your true will execute, and then only your copy activity will execute. Right. So these are like basically the different scenarios you can look for. You can think of different scenarios, and you can say like you can also check. Say for example the size. Okay, you can check the size. If it is more than say 1 GB, you don't want to load the huge files like which is more than 1 GB or 10 GB, or if you want to see this based on the size only you want to load, right? So then also you can use the get metadata activity. And there is a property called last modified timestamp, right? So you can use the last modified timestamp and check when the file was last modified. If the file was modified in last say 24 hours, you want to pick that only that file, you can pick it up. Like when you're say for example when you're running a file on a daily basis, when you're running a job on a schedule on a daily basis, so you want to pick only the file which is in last 24 hours window, right? Because you have scheduled the pipeline for to run every day at a particular time. So when it is running on a every day particular time, you will just look for the last 24 hours window. Before that window, 48 hours window or whatever before that, it is already, you might have already read those files. So you want to target only that window. So in that case, you can just utilize the last modified timestamp of all the files and check which is the file which is in that 24 hours window, and based on that you can load. So these are the scenarios, and also you can get list of all the files in a folder, right? And so based on that, you can see, you can pick only the file which is required to you. Okay, so those kind of activities basically you can utilize a get metadata activity, but in real time when you start using it, it is one of the most commonly used activity. So hope this is useful. Thanks for watching.